Sunday the 26th. I'm walking out to the trails at my cabin. I hear some gunshots. Some people must be sighting their guns. I have my friends Nate and Jared here somewhere. They were here a little bit earlier than I was. I worked around the cabin, put a new table and rearranged the living situation in the cabin so it's a little more accommodating. Oh, these are great signs. Big deer tracks. Awesome. I am going to look for Nate and Jared. I know they were going to set up their blinds for the upcoming hunting season. I'm walking in the woods looking for Nate and Jared. They have been here maybe a couple hours before me. Again, I have just done quite some time. I just did some work at the cabin and spent quite some more time before I walked into the woods. I will be looking for them to see where they will be setting up their hunting blinds. Leaves are falling as the wind blows. You can see slight change of colors. This is northern New York, technically considered central New York. The colors of the trees in the fall become very beautiful. A lot of people travel up north to see the change of leaves, but as you see, it's still a little early, and today especially a pretty nice warm day, September 27th. I am just using a light vest, even that earlier was a little warm for me, but I like the extra pockets to help carry stuff that I carry with me. Just walked through the highway, as I call it. I am at an intersection where two major trails from my property meet. It's kind of hard to see. About a couple months ago I have mowed the grass so it wasn't too tall. It used to look like this. However, after I mowed, it's just about 10 inches or so long grass. Now straight ahead goes to the creek that traverses through my property line, and this is farther north, goes to the northern edge of my property. I just got a text message as I'm recording this video from Nate saying that they are heading back. Hopefully we'll come across. This is the trail that takes us to the creek. Again, about a couple months ago I was here last. I chopped down these thickets and the brush and the berry bushes, but again, nature always prevails. The ground looks good, the height of the grass looks good, but the brush from either side is overtaking the main trail again. So these needs to be chopped down. We have arrived at the creek. The water level is much higher than it was a couple months ago. Like I said, it's fall season now, and it has been quite rainy last week, so the waters are being fed from the higher elevation. I do not have the proper footwear to cross through the creek right now. I'm just wearing sneakers. I do not want to get wet, so that I am uncomfortable for the rest of the day with soaking feet. I set up a tent sometime in summer. I can tell the other side of the creek my tent has not survived, which I knew. When I came back sometime later in summer, it was still standing upright. I can see that it's collapsed again. I do not have the proper footwear to cross the creek to check on it. I will be next week. I can tell that there has been some flooding because the creek must have overflown and laid the tall grass down as it passed through this higher section right ahead of us. You can tell they've been all laid to the flow of the water direction. The wind is light, however, farther ahead I heard a big branch crack. Hopefully when it broke and fell, it did not close one of my trails. I do like the property a lot because it already has established trails that you can traverse through, but also a lot of just wild, untouched land that is somewhat easy to walk through, and that makes life easy when you're out in the woods, especially with full gear and hiking and enjoying the scenery. Again, there's another shot of the tent. You can tell it is not in the shape that it should be. I have gotten a text message from Nate about 10 minutes ago telling me that they are heading back. So I will be going up this ravine back into the woods, trying to get onto one of my main trails and get back towards the cabin to meet him. It is just beautiful here. With me, I do have a wood cutting tool I brought from Turkey, and I made that little sleeve so it's safe to handle. What it is like a machete almost, but with a hooked edge, as you can see. It is used for chopping wood, breaking tree branches off the main trunks, also sizing thicker, heavier firewood. It is a handy tool. It has been handmade by blacksmiths. I went to a traditional blacksmith neighborhood where a lot of artisans still work with copper, ironworks, and other materials. Let me take this out of the sleeve so I can show you. Earlier at the cabin, I used it to slice some tree branches down, or chop them down to make it smaller to help start fire easily in my wood stove. A lot of deer poop. These are somewhat old, but right behind me I have seen some more because they traverse through this natural path. And farther ahead, right where my wood chopper pointing out, is a hill. They traverse up the hill to higher elevation to stay protected. Again, more deer poop, and you can tell the natural trail that they choose to walk through, and more. So you can tell this is a deer traffic area. Now I'm walking towards the northern edge of my property. Pretty much straight ahead into those woods is a property line, and the state land starts past that. This is towards the tree pointing out straight up, connects this to what I call my northern trail. Last year this big tree trunk fell. You can drive all the way here with ATVs or side-by-sides. Now what I've been doing, just so that I can go farther, I'm driving around this section which is still wide enough for even a side-by-side, and come up and go farther in. I'll be walking around this log where you can see the main trail ahead of me. This is, again, to my left is the most northern edge of my land. Pretty much past this point is the state land. But there's thousands of acres, and my nearest neighbor is quite far away. That will not bother me. You really don't come across anybody while you're hunting. No, this is a surprise. This must have been the tree cracking and falling that I just heard earlier. And of course, it had to fall right onto the trail. Right there is the crack. Right there is the long tree. Fell right across my trail. This will require some manpower, and definitely a chainsaw to cut the tree trunk and move the excess to the side so the trail is open again. Like I said, you have the luxury of being able to drive all the way here as the trail is wide enough, but now this bad boy makes it very difficult to do so. I'm using my chopper to get rid of this branch, break it off. So that it actually makes it a little easier to cross over. I'm going to be moving this a little farther away to keep the trail somewhat open. At least now we can jump over the branch or the trunk that's laying across without having to crawl under or trying to make our way through the thorny bushes. I chopped 2 more limbs with thick, heavy branching. Now all I gotta do is just walk over the tree trunk, but I definitely need to come back with my chainsaw, chop the trunk and move it out of the way. Trail actually remained nice and open after I mowed the grass with a push behind weed trimmer. That made my life so much easier. Obviously it's too far deep in the woods to come here with a tractor mower. I do, however, have a compact Massey Ferguson tractor with a belly mower, but I do not have a heavy duty enough dual axle trailer to bring that bad boy here. Every time I need to borrow a dual axle trailer. Even though I am okay with the big size trailer that I have driving on the highways, it is 1.6 miles on a dirt and a pretty rugged road to get to the cabin, and the weight of that tractor with my current trailer will probably put a lot of stress, and God forbid if you break an axle or a tire, you are in deep trouble this far in the woods. I did bring my tractor, 4-wheel drive, compact, with a bucket, so I could move some of these trenches closed, pull some of these tree trunks away. It's a lot of maintenance having this much land, most of which are woods. Of course, nature always come up with a surprise, like I shown you in the video earlier. A big giant tree just cracked. I heard it. I came down towards the direction, and there it was on one of my main paths, trails. This side is a little mushy. It always have been. Even though you can drive with a 4-wheeler ATVs or side-by-side, it does leave tire ruts, but I would not dare drive in this far with my big full-size pickup truck, as it is too heavy and it will be really difficult to maneuver had I have the need to turn around. Now this is the other trail that goes all the way up to the open area where the cabin is. This is on the north side of the land. Again, I like the fact that these trails were always here. These are pretty much old logging trails. Now the woods should probably be logged pretty soon. When I bought the land about 5 years ago, I heard it was logged about 5 years prior. but you can tell there are some trees that are dying. The high wind or just pretty much rotting out is collapsing a lot of them down. A lot of people think that chopping down trees are killing the forests, just like they think hunting is awful. That actually helps revitalize the forests. There is more room, more nutrition provided from the ground to the trees. They can breathe better and they have more sunlight. Now I focused on these deer tracks as I was talking about the woods. Again, these are great signs. My property has a lot of deer. Even though I am not really concerned about getting a deer, I just love being out here during the hunting season. Fall is especially beautiful. Again, whether I get a deer or not, I just enjoy the act and be out here in the serene quiet and definitely free of the electronic hum that we live our daily lives in the city settings. As you may see, I'm at a higher elevation now, heading back towards the cabin. It has gotten drier because from the north side, that way, farther down, is the water running through and meeting the main trail. Like I mentioned, water always finds the easiest way to pass through. That gets my trail somewhat mucky and muddy, but by no means you will be sunk because it still has pretty solid rocky surface. It's just the topsoil gets muddy, which makes it annoying, especially if you're not walking with rubber boots. I am almost to the cabin. I heard the boys honking the horn to let me know they're back at the cabin. I will meet them in a few seconds. This is again right where we have started the video. This is what I call the crossroads. This is the trail I took down earlier. This is the trail I came back from. It loops around and comes to this open area where it takes me right to the cabin. As you can see, this is the part that I did not mow a couple months ago. You can tell the fresher and shorter grass. That's where my mowed areas. And there are the boys right there. We are going to be meeting them and see what they have done today. Hey guys! We are in Nate's car, driving farther deep to Sullivan Road, which is technically the road where my cabin is. I have been through this far in before, coming from the town of Redfield. There is a cabin for sale that shows that it has actually power for $44,000 that sits on 10.6 acres. We are hoping to locate that cabin.
Think that's it?
Not sure if this is it, but this guy have a satellite dish and so forth, but I do not see actual power lines coming through, so he must be using generator power for this one. So we are driving deeper to Sullivan Road. The road is kind of rough. Nate's beautiful SUV is handling it properly though, and Jared is co-pilot. So we came through as far as we could. Nate's beautiful Durango is not quite high off the ground, and we came to this mess. I remember this spot a few years ago. I used my Tacoma TRD off-road package, which had great clearance. You can see the beaver dam, causing one side of the road to flood. There's the beaver dam and the big giant pond that's created. Every time it overflows, apparently it washes the road off. You can see the culvert pipe exposed. We still had to go back through this road anyway, so we decided to end our trip here, not to take any risks, because we are really deep into the woods and there is no traffic that will be driving by to assist us, and it's definitely a very far walk to go back and retrieve my truck to help pull us out if we get stuck here. We're making a turn. It's kind of narrow. There's no choice but to push some of the weeds down. Don't go forward. Straighten your wheel. There you go. And we made it. This trip turned out to be a bust. We traveled a good, what, 5 miles, you think, guys? 6 in this dirt road, just to find out that we couldn't go any further to find this property. But the scenery is nice, and it definitely is a beautiful fall day.
It is very nice weather.